podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Well, it's late on night on Wednesday night.
So late, it's hard to use words.
Yeah, words hard. So apparently is finishing clear-cut chances and holding on to a 1-1 result, a 1-1 scoreline at half-time. A very, very frustrating performance from Ole's late substituting Reds.
Quite a lot of, quite a lot of frustration in this game. The two big ones, of course. I mean, first, United didn't take the chances that we had. Cavani's one that hit the bar. You can call that a chance, although it's 20.24 XG, according to Infogol. I wonder whether that's post...
0.24?
I know, I couldn't believe it when I looked at that. I was like, is that post-shot they're showing us there rather than pre-shot? But and then Martial's, the obvious one being Martial's chance, was just huge, and just such a hammer blow not to score that one at that particular time. So the players have missed their chance, really. The real pressure, of course, is not losing at home to Paris Saint-Germain, who were last year's finalists. The real pressure was losing away to Istanbul, who they're only points in the group so far. And then two big mistakes, I think, from Ole. One was the obvious one of not replacing Fred. Especially when there were 3 central midfielders on the bench and there are 5 subs in the Champions League. It's criminal, really. And just because...
It's awful.
It's... we can debate whether the brush of temples should be a red card or not. But the amount of fuss that was made, it was obvious that the next tackle was going to be yellow. I mean, he got the ball as a follow-through. So there's an argument about whether it would have been a yellow whenever and in any circumstances, probably with most refs, but not all. But I think even the slightest of brush, after he'd had another chance in that first half, the next one was going to be a red. And he was just asking for trouble.
And the thing that's mad is absolutely everyone watching that game knew that this was going to happen. This was not, I don't know a single United fan that didn't think Fred should come off at half-time.
No, that's right. Well, not least because you'd probably said that in any game, but against the Paris Saint-Germain side who've, let's be honest, got a few like to fall on the ground.
Exactly. They are Dive FC.
So, and Paredes, I mean, in the end, it didn't clatter Paredes, did he, to get the fatal yellow. It was Ander, yeah.
To add insult to injury.
Yeah, and Ander, who did a bit of housery late in the game and rolled around after the barest minimum of brushes from Donny van der Beek. But
but he'd have made a really over-exaggerated, muted celebration if he'd scored, though, don't you?
yeah, humble brag of a celebration, yeah. Anyway, so I mean, so those are the big highlights, I suppose. But it's it was the details that really mattered, and the detail of Ole not changing Fred and then waiting so long to make substitutions and just didn't react very quickly to Paris Saint-Germain's change. I just call them PSG from now on, shall I? It's late, folks. Just waited so long to react to those changes, and that kind of started to change the flow of the game, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely, because in the first half, they were kind of on top, and we did well to get back into it, I thought. Rashford, very lucky, had a terrible game, was injured, scored a goal by bouncing it off someone as a reward for his good deeds. There was the Martial miss, which was just so bad. Then there was the Cavani chip and the Martial... it was well blocked by, I think, Kimpembe in the aftermath of that, but you could argue that he should have hit that somewhere where it couldn't be blocked. There was the one where Bruno was through, late on and tried to pass it for some reason, even though he had such a good shooting opportunity. It was really bad. And I think Bruno had a bad game all round, actually. But anyway, they scored and were really on top for a bit after they scored. Do you think Dave should have done better at the near post, or is that
I think he's been surprised, honestly, that it's gone into the near post. So yeah, I mean, sure, he can protect his near post, and then the far post is open, and the pass across, which he's obviously sort of anticipating. So I think that one's not on him. There's more players to blame than Dave for this.
Oh yeah,
loss.
I'm not really looking for blame. I just don't have a clear idea myself of what you're meant to do in that situation. Goalkeeping always looks really hard. I mean, I thought it was offside because I thought Moise Kean was offside and how was kind of clearly interfering with play because Neymar was using him as a screen. But actually, the whole United defence just got caught short. Yeah. Cavani and Wan-Bissaka both standing out of line, and it was simple, really simple for PSG, that goal in the end. Nice finish.
Really, and actually Wan-Bissaka got himself out of position a couple of times in this game with the overload. Neymar and Mbappe tend to drift to the same side of the pitch, and they got him, he got himself in trouble quite a bit, or could have been helped out.
Well, exactly. Like, is that really on Wan-Bissaka, or is that actually the system is set up in such a way that he's like, if Lindelof isn't covering for him, which, oh God, honestly, I'm in my head. I've got a little agenda, a little Lindelof agenda, a little agenda-lof building. But anyway, that's. I wonder whether it's systemic as much as anything, and he's got Rashford ahead of him on the right as well. Not that he isn't hard-working, obviously, but
yeah, I mean, true. Yes, I mean, Wan-Bissaka just gets sucked into the middle of play a fair bit. Look, he's a young defender, and we can. There are worse defenders in the United squad than Wan-Bissaka. Let's just put it like that, because
it's all of them.
It's all of them. Yeah. And this wasn't a game, although United have shipped 3 goals, it wasn't a game for atrocious defending. That happened in Istanbul. This was a game when United didn't take chances at a key moment that could have shifted the game. Yeah. And Paris didn't either, by the way. I mean, they've ended up with nearly 3 XG here. They create a lot of good chances, although perhaps the Marquinhos one is going as a really good chance when it's not really, is it? He just couldn't get himself high enough.
I actually thought we were totally battering them before the red card, because we were just absolutely all over them for a period of time in that second half. Just completely,
brief
just looked by far the most likely.
Yeah. I mean, no, certainly
20 minutes, something like that. 15, 20 minutes, perhaps, really on top.
Yeah. I mean, definitely more in control of what we were doing than in the first half. So, like you mentioned the red card, let's talk about the incident in the first half, because you and I watch it on different channels. But all the pundits, including Roberto Martinez, who's in the CBS studio, was of the opinion this is definitely a red card, it's obvious. And I was like, I'm sure this is not the true. I'm sure it's like one of those truisms in football that if there's any contact with the head, it's a definite red card. I was like, I just don't believe this. So I checked on the IFAB laws, the FIFA laws, and the FA laws, which are all the same laws of the game, by the way. They just have different notes and interpretation on. It doesn't say anything like that at all. In fact, there's a get out for when there's negligible force, and I think this is the perfect example on which you can use the word negligible force. I mean,
exactly.
Maybe they brushed their eyebrows, but that was about it.
I loved everything about that moment. It's like one of the great moments in Champions League history for me, that the ref goes over to the thing and everyone knows exactly what's going to happen, right? The commentators are so sure. We're all thinking, oh, God, Paredes has absolutely had the wool over his eyes. And when the ref ran up and just casually looked at the screen for a split second, has clearly gone, come on. It's like, all right, well, I guess I got to book him. For a second, I thought he'd book Paredes, which would have been absolutely glorious.
I do think
he should have done, by the way.
This truism in football is not right? That is not, you can go in and hammer the ball and the player and everyone will go, oh, he got the ball, and it can be incredibly dangerous. And they've cleaned up that part of the laws for good reason, right? So we don't get players kicked out of games like used to happen. But this area where anything in the face is supposedly a red card, and I think a lot of referees see it like that as well. Look at Martial's red earlier this season. I mean, there wasn't much in that when Lamela hit the floor. And I think the wording on this one was changed as well to add the negligible force get out. I think for this kind of reason. I don't know for sure, but I'm just assuming it's to give the ref an out when a player's diving for no reason.
And that's the thing, like Fred shouldn't have done what he did, obviously, but Paredes has made it look like he was headbutted when he was in no way. He was
the advantage should not be to the player who falls on the floor first in a coming together of heads.
No, exactly. So yeah, that was stupid. And the second one wasn't even a foul. Like the follow through isn't a foul in that one. And in fact, the follow through only hits him because the PSG player clatters into where his leg is. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, probably worse in the first half when he caught. Who did he catch on the ankle? Was it Neymar? After that, it wasn't Neymar. They were both going in, and maybe it was Paredes. Actually, it was Paredes again. Paredes got booked for not being in control, which was, I think, fair. But then Fred goes over the top of the ball and catches him on the ankle. That could have been a yellow for both of them.
McTominay with the little, oh no, I didn't know his leg was there on Neymar.
Yeah.
Like as if when you feel the guy's leg under you, you don't immediately know whether to put your weight down.
He hasn't got force sense, You can't just the aura coming off Neymar. Yeah, I can feel a bit of pressure there. No, he should have gone down harder.
United get back into it through Rashford, and I kind of was really optimistic for a lot of that second half. I thought we were, and we did create fantastic chances, and I'd love to see the kind of pre and post red card XG on this game, because it very much felt like that was the thing that the game hinged on, and then it was all over basically, and so frustrating, and it leaves us in a position where now we need to draw against Leipzig, which is exactly what we talked about on the podcast on Monday, which was we really don't want to. I mean, it's a lot of pressure. Now, if you had said at the very beginning of this group stage, when we got drawn with Leipzig and PSG in the same group, okay, you'll be going into match day 6 or whatever they call it with only needing a draw against Leipzig, I'm sure everyone would have been like, oh, that's amazing. But once you win those first 2 games against Leipzig and PSG, the fact that we've made it difficult for ourselves is very, very frustrating. And of course now impossible for us to top the group.
Well, not quite.
Oh, unless Istanbul beat Paris.
A miracle in Paris, yeah. Which seems unlikely. So yeah, look, it's the huge risk here because I know United put 5 past them in that second game in the group, but they actually gave us the runaround for the first half of that match. I mean, this is a good side. They were quite unlucky to lose in Paris. They had a long period of that game where they were on top, and they're a good side. They lost Timo Werner, but they've got the core of their squad still there. This is still mostly the team that made the semi-finals, quarter-final of the Champions League last season.
I think, because it was PSG versus Leipzig.
Right, that's right. So they're a good team. They could cause us trouble, especially if it's one of our off nights. Or if we go there with a fairly conservative mindset and cede all the sort of possession, territory and momentum to a Leipzig side who push relentlessly when in front and when on top. Bit like, the Leeds side in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, they beat Paris as well, didn't they? So they beat them in that they obviously were quite unlucky not to win in Paris, but they came back from losing to us by beating Paris, which was fairly impressive.
So they're a good side, and
I mean they are also vulnerable, as evidenced by the fact that Istanbul put 3 past them today. So that's clearly a thing. Although in the Bundesliga, where Bayern are top, having conceded 13 goals, Leipzig are second, having conceded 6. So the fact that we put 5 past them and Istanbul put 3 past them, it sort of seems quite freakish compared to what's going on in domestic football. But that they're in really good form domestically. they'll be absolutely desperate to win this game because it is massive for them, and it means, I mean, it's just as big for them as it is for us.
Sure.
And there's no way they're going to look at United and think, oh, they beat us 5-1. They're so good. Like, not a way.
Chance. Yeah. Anyway, let's when we come to Sunday's show, we'll the Sunday record, we'll look back on Leipzig's weekend game and see how they've done, because United have got a interesting game at the weekend as well. We'll come to that in a bit, I guess. Away at David Moyes' high-flying West Ham.
Yeah, oh no. I mean, let's talk about Ole then.
Yeah.
What did you think of the decision to play 4-2-3-1 with Fred and McTominay?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was I'm never really surprised if Ole goes back to his stock, and that feels like the safe bet formation and midfield double pivot that he seems to be most comfortable with. And you can make an argument for that, given the kind of solid base. What it does do is it doesn't really allow United to control possession of the ball. And maybe there's a feeling that United would never have done that. But, not having Pogba or perhaps Van der Beek in there definitely means there's a more limited range of passing in midfield, for sure. And then the other thing to say is, I mean, Pogba was probably never going to start because he's just come back from this ankle injury, although apparently knocking on the manager's door, demanding to be given a go. But Van der Beek's been excellent in the last 2 games, so he can certainly count himself unlucky because his performances were good enough to merit a place in the side.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought, people got quite excited about the front 4 in this game, and I understand why, and I was also fairly excited about seeing that front 4 together. But I did think, who is going to get them the ball? Because, first of all, everything's going to come into Bruno, and I think we are nowhere near at our best when everything has to go through Bruno.
No, you want multiple options, yeah. I mean, look, on paper that's very exciting, isn't it? But Martial doesn't really like playing off the left. I think he wants to play through the middle, and Rashford definitely doesn't like playing off the right, although he's had good games there. But he wants to play on the left so he can cut in on, so it's dangerous both ways, right? The defender knows that if he cuts in, he's giving a shooting opportunity away, and Rashford can go on the outside, right? So he's got more tools in the locker if he's on the left than the right.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just the structural problem within the front 4. What I'm saying is, playing that back 6 and that front 4 is a massive problem.
Not enough passing range to get the ball to them in dangerous places. Yeah.
But what I was specifically going to talk about is when everything goes through Bruno, this is when he is at his worst. This is when every single ball has to be like Bruno. Bruno is a walking meme. Like, he is like, I am not interested unless it is magnificent. And there was even one where he had a player right and left of him, and he tried a slide rule pass through the legs to the player to the right of him.
Yeah.
And it was just not the option to take.
It was never on to Rashford, and he played it with the outside of his boot, trying to thread the needle. Yeah. No, look, I agree with you. And he's not... he's obviously a very modern number 10. He's an extreme in terms of how he plays the game. But he's not really a player for controlling the tempo of a game because it's always forward, right?
Which is brilliant if you've got Van der Beek in midfield, because then you've got somebody who can allow him to take more risks and, make more moves and do more stuff. But when he is the only person who's going to find the forwards, play breaks down just way, way, way too often, because it's either breaking down through McTominay or it's breaking down through Fred, or Bruno's either going to score, create a world-class assist, or give the ball away, and not in thirds equal measure, those things. So, it structurally that was a big risk. And then, I mean, we talked about the Fred thing at the top of the show. This is one of the single biggest mistakes Solskjaer's made at any point in his United career. This is a completely negligent, obvious, utterly baffling mistake to make, because when everyone can see it, it's not Like, if every single person that watches football agrees what you should do and you don't do it, that's not because you're so stupid you can't see a thing that everyone else can see. It's some other reason he's not made that decision.
Well, I think he really trusts Fred. He's come to really trust him. I mean, he started 11 out of the last 12 games, has Fred, and he really trusts that pivot in midfield, because there isn't a like for like. I mean, Nemanja Matic could have come on, but having Neymar, Mbappe and others running at you is not exactly Matic's forte. And so I think he likes the fact that Fred has got that energy and gets about the pitch, and so has McTominay, and it gives him a sort of protective shield in front of the somewhat flaky back four. I mean, I've had to go at just a slight tangent. I think we've been fairly critical of Maguire during his time at United. He's blown hot and cold. There's been periods where he's made some really bad mistakes. He's been good in the last month, I think, hasn't he? In the last sort of 4 or 5 games, he's had a very good run of it, and it looks like Lindelof is the weak link. But as a pair, I don't half feel a lot of the time that there is opportunities around them, especially when you can move them. Because neither's that mobile.
I mean, the amount of times that the overlap on the left worked with the fullback Neymar and Mbappe, it was, that they just had the ball in space out there a lot. But I do think, I understand, I think everything you've just said is a good reason to pick Fred at the beginning of the game. None of it's a good enough reason to keep him on the pitch, because however much you trust him, he's not a miracle worker. Pastor Fred, maybe he is a little bit. It's certainly in his social circle, he's made some impact, let's just say. But to expect him not to get sent off in a game against PSG, the absolute red card magnets. It was a horrible decision, and I completely agree as well. They didn't react quickly enough. I thought it was weird when he took Cavani off as well. I mean, I know we've got to save Cavani, and maybe he was blown a bit, but the fact is 3-1 didn't matter, so you could just go completely gung-ho at that point, because a draw was, losing by a couple more goals wouldn't have really done anything, but a draw was invaluable. So I thought he left it a bit late to go really gung-ho, and it felt like he only sort of clocked at the end, oh, wait a minute, it doesn't really matter, and put Ighalo on. There's a Hail Mary move for
in the
you.
90th minute.
Yeah.
I mean, all the subs came after 74 minutes. So, I mean, it's
so weird. And he was so, like, the first game against PSG in this group was, I think, Ole's finest moment as a United manager in a lot of ways, because it was a game where everything that he did turned to gold, really. And he got the starting lineup right and played Tuanzebe, who played absolutely brilliantly. Tuanzebe hadn't really played at that point. He made the shift to 4-2-3-1 in the middle of that game, which made a absolutely enormous difference to the balance of play. And there was one other thing that I can't remember what it was that went well. So that was brilliant. This was absolutely terrible. And maybe he'll learn from this, because this is the thing. Solskjaer, we have to see not just Solskjaer's United as a work in progress, but Solskjaer, the manager, as a work in progress. Because if this is his top level, then we should bin him off today. If he's the finished article of what he's going to be as a manager, this make the call. Love you. Sorry. Do you want a statue? You're welcome to one. We're going to give the job to Mauricio Pochettino.
Well, that's what they did to Fergie when they wanted to bin him off. I'm not. Well, Ollie deserves it for his exploits in Camp Nou in 1999.
Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily as a manager.
Gunnar...
Yeah, I mean, look, he's not an inexperienced manager. I think this is his 7th season as a manager. Of course, he's inexperienced at Champions League and Premier League level.
Yeah, and he wouldn't have been allowed to get the job under the new Brexit regulations. So could you quickly run us through what this
very
absolutely
super
idiot
quickly.
country...
Yeah. So basically...
Hold on, let me just preamble this in the way that I want to.
Go for it.
Could you just present us with what this absolutely idiotic country is doing to itself?
Yes. Well, since we're laying on the politics here, just briefly, I'll come to the new rules. The new vaccine was approved in the UK today. Hooray! Looks like I won't be in the country for it. Boo! Maybe I've already got one already. Yay! And the Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, took credit for it and said it couldn't have happened if we hadn't gone for Brexit. Somewhat ironically, this was actually approved under European regulatory frameworks. And of course, it's BioNTech, a German company who developed the vaccine, and that was funded by the European Union. Anyway, some irony. And we get to the post-Brexit rules. So January the 1st, the transition period is over, and there'll be new rules. And it's basically going to be a level playing field, whether in Europe or anywhere else. Right. So there won't be sort of two tiers as we've had. And it's basically going to be a point system based on how many caps the players got, either at youth, under 21 or senior international level, the quality of the league. And I don't think they've published the methodology on like whose rankings it is and the quality of the team within that league. And so one of the reasons, and that's, all fairly simple, and maybe we'll get some more transparency on it as time goes by. And one of the reasons why Ole wouldn't have got the job is Norway's outside of that top 33 leagues, so he'd have needed an exception, which he might well have got anyway. Who knows?
Yeah, because somebody would have shown them a picture of the new camp and gone, look, this is the reason we're giving him the job. Surely this counts as an exception. Anyway, yes, I make no apologies, by the way, for saying what this idiotic country has done to itself, because that's absolutely how I feel about the situation.
Since one more thing, which is interesting. So the pandemic has obviously been absolutely devastating to the UK economy. You don't need to dig very far to look at how tragic it's been. Brexit, as the Bank of England recently just said, is likely to be even more damaging. It's damaging to different parts of the economy as well, which is, tragic and devastating for the people whose livelihoods are going to be put at threat. Anyway, shall we move on to more sound topics of joy and mirth?
Stick with topics that will be highly divisive. Hey, by the way, massive shout out to everyone sharing with us their Spotify Wrapped end of the year. Honestly, I can't tell you how lovely it is to get those screenshots where it's like we're their most listened to podcast of the year on Spotify. Like that. There's something about that. Somebody said, "Oh, I feel bad for listening on Apple Podcasts." Like, no, that's not the point at all. It's just like I've always liked kind of end of the year lists and all that sort of thing. It's always been something I've loved. So to be a part of that for people, it's just unbelievable. And seeing the company of some of the podcasts, like the good taste that people have that listen to our show, it just means absolutely the world.
It does,
so
but some of you weirdos listen to an awful lot of us prattling on. I mean, really. That's a lot. Think what you could have done with those hours. You could be much more productive.
If you're listening while you're asleep, remember, you can achieve anything you put your mind to.
There was a similar sort of thing going around, obviously not real, but someone wrote, I don't think I like the look of my LinkedIn wrap this year, and and it says underneath, you have applied for 547 jobs. You were rejected for them all.
Did that by any reason, but in any way sting, Ed?
Did a little bit, yeah.
If you want more from the show in between shows, check us out on the socials. We are NQAT Pod on Instagram, Ed's at NQAT Pod on Twitter, and we are under our real names on Facebook at No Question About That. I wanted to say that because we're about to talk about all the stuff that makes people not listen to us, but there are people that are glad that we do this stuff. So after the game, Edison Cavani's absolute heroics against Southampton, he posted an Instagram post, which I don't think I'm going to quote verbatim, but you can go, because I don't really like the sound of that word coming out of my mouth. You can go and look up what he said if you don't know. It's not the real bad words in the way that you might think a word I'm not going to say would be, but it's a word with racial connotations. Essentially, he said what Luis Suarez claimed he said to Patrice Evra. It's been reported in more than one place that this is what Luis Suarez said to Patrice Evra, which is absolutely, which the FA decided on the balance of probability. It absolutely was not what Patrice what Luis Suarez said to
111
Patrice
pages
Evra.
of balance of probability, by the way.
Yeah,
Great amount of
yeah.
detail. I remember reading all of that. All of that tragic book of... Yeah, anyway, yes. Continue.
So Cavani has apologised for this, deleted the post, apologised for it in a way that felt heartfelt to me, because this is a word which I don't think it's necessarily our place to have a debate about whether this word, I mean, you described it as prima facie offensive, which I think there's a very solid argument for. I mean, it hits my ears 1,000 kinds of wrong and feels kind of sickening to me because it's a racially loaded word. But you absolutely also have to understand the context of intent. Sure. So if he gets a ban from the FA for this, I will think that is completely fair enough, because he's been in Europe for a very long time. Anyway, he is operating under different conditions. And if it's decided that that's a violation of what he should be doing, then I don't think, well, there will obviously be a lot of United fans who object, but those people just don't like thinking. It's a completely reasonable thing if he gets a ban for it. I definitely think comparing it with Suarez is unbelievably bad faith.
Yeah, we should take that off. There is bad faith. We should take that off the table. We don't need to relitigate that. They're apples and oranges. It's different sports. It's not the same thing. And the only reason they're comparing is because they're both Uruguayan, I think.
Well, and
it's a similar sounding word. You know,
this is the get out clause that Suarez tried to use, right?
So, look, the reason why I called it, and you can go and look at my Twitter thread if you're interested to see what I said, and do agree with everything I wrote there, and all the conversation I had with people underneath, and I tried to be extremely polite because there were lots of different opinions, ranging from you libtard cuck. You know,
really? Did you get an actual one of those?
I didn't, but you know, it was in the ballpark.
I feel like we should save those for when they actually happen, because they do actually happen.
To what I felt were some bad faith arguments, calling me a cultural imperialist, which I understand the direction of travel where that sentiment has come from. I just don't agree with the analysis for policing someone else's language. And the reason why I don't agree with that analysis is people locally object to this, right? So this is not me, Ed, white, British, middle-aged, with all my privileges, saying you, Edison Cavani, cannot say a thing that you think is perfectly acceptable. This is local people saying, no, the reason why this is offensive is because of its historical roots, which are wrapped up in 300 years of slavery in Latin America. And look, I don't have to take my word for it. Lots of you will just disagree with that on just, you know, initial reaction. Go read. There are scholars out there who've written about it. You know, one, race is politically constructed. It's not a real thing. And in some Latin American countries, if you want to know why it's so not a real thing, they had 16 different racial categories. Yeah, this is just made up, right? And it's used to subjugate and oppress people. And secondly, language throughout history has been used to subjugate and oppress people, right? Think of it, and I'm going to... I understand if people want to push back against this particular example, but it's in the ballpark, I think. The way language is used in the southern states under Jim Crow laws, you know, white people calling black people boy to infantilize them. You know? And this is why people locally object to this phrase being used and want it to be phased out. And I think that's why it's bad, right? Not because it's used and we're all being, you know, libtards about it and we're just looking for something to be offended. You know, this has deeply troubling roots, and we would all be better if we didn't other, you know, people of different colour. And so in Uruguay, it's 93% white, right? So you very much are othering people of colour.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that the cultural imperialist argument is a complex one, and I do think it's one which you have to consider the fact that, you know, perspectives on language use and all these kinds of things are, you know, they're informed by culture. And like I said, to me, like, I can't even bring myself to say this word out loud because it feels absolutely awful. Like it just feels awful to me. Now, I think that you could make a much stronger. Well, I'm going to bring up Suarez again because I do think it's really important that the reason we're saying this is apples and oranges is incredibly clear, and that is that Suarez was, on the balance of probability, based on a 111-page report, racially abusing someone, like attacking them on the basis of their colour, and Cavani was using a pet name for a mate. Like these are totally different things, and the debate around the word in Uruguay is a debate that is being had clearly. And anyway, my overall feeling about this is it doesn't make me feel, honestly, to be just completely honest, it doesn't make me feel worse about Edinson Cavani in particular. I think I still probably feel about this, he's just living his life and probably not thinking about things. And it would be great if he did think about things. And his apology was a bit like, oh my God, I'm so sorry that I could possibly have been offensive with this. I would never have looked. He's my friend. I love him. Which is a bit like, whatever. Yep. But you also need to think, and he's probably not going to think. And that is what it is. But I think within the grounds of the FA's approach, I think it is. I could completely understand how if he got banned, and I could also, I'm not sure I don't know about this, I haven't really thought about this carefully, but I'm not sure if I would be wildly outraged if he wasn't, but I'd be also happy to hear from people who would have a strong feeling that, no, this is actually something that should be taken really seriously.
Yeah, I mean, I do think this has to be taken seriously. The reason why the FA's got a new code is to try and take some of the subjectivity out of it. Now, his defence will be a mitigation rather than, if you're speeding and you go 33 miles an hour in a 30 zone, you're going to get a ticket, and then you can go, but my mother was really ill and I had to get her to hospital, right? Please let me off. Right? And I think the arguments are about mitigation rather than have you broken the code, because clearly he has broken the code. Right. He's used a racial term. He's used a racial term in social media. Now, personally, I don't really think that necessitates, it's late, folks, some kind of heavy-handed ban, because I think this should be a teachable moment. So if he changes his behaviour after this and thinks about it, I don't know if he will, then it's kind of served its purpose in a way. Other people might have different views. Troy Deeney, for example, said it should be a really long ban in order to make an example of this kind of language, which shouldn't, it's Troy Deeney. So
yeah, and listen, if there's people that feel very strongly in that direction, I'm definitely going to listen, because what does my experience know about this? I mean, absolutely nothing. Right. Not only being white, but also growing up here, and I've lived other places than here, but I've never lived in South America, so I have no idea if the kind of, it's fine in Uruguay it's fine in Uruguay because Uruguay is 93% white, and no one's ever kind of the fight hasn't been won yet by the people going, this is absolutely not fine in Uruguay, which is kind of, I think, some of what you've said and some of the writing that you've pointed me to. So, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I guess we don't know yet, but he will get a ban, right? That's surely going to happen, or is it? I mean, I think
certain? On the balance of probabilities, it seems likely. But we'll see. I don't think they don't do the super fast hearings for this kind of incident. Right. So it could take a few weeks.
Right. Okay. Well, it was a bit of a downer, wasn't it? After the goal.
Oh God, yeah. But I don't think we'd be true to ourselves, having talked all the way through the Suarez Everett incident.
No.
We wouldn't be true to ourselves if we kind of brushed it off. And
that we never would have done that ever. We'll never do that ever, just because it's a United player. I couldn't be less bothered about the tribal aspect of this in any way. You're just going to take the case on its merits, right? Yeah. This is a different case, but it definitely warrants discussion. And yeah, talking of warranting discussion, though.
Yeah, I was just thinking, if you're going to reserve some hateful language for someone, David Moyes is your man. David Moyes. Just don't abuse his Scottish heritage.
That's a better transition than I was gonna manage. they're absolutely crushing it, right? West Ham are playing. They're playing well. They weren't very good the other night when they beat Villa. I think they beat Villa.
Yes, they scraped home against Villa. Rather fortuitous. Well, a missed penalty and a very narrow offside call.
Yeah, and like Ander Herrera and Angel Di Maria came back today. And David Moyes is coming back. Jose Mourinho came back and beat us 6-1. I don't like this season. What's Louis van Gaal up to? Is he waiting in the woods, trying to jump out?
Yeah, he's still in retirement, I'd say. Interesting. Rooney on the United pod saying that he would have given Louis van Gaal an extra season and thought the team was heading in the right direction. Moyes. Jeez. I mean, yeah, he's got West Ham playing all right. And it looks like they're not going to be pure relegation fodder. I mean, it's still reasonably early in the season, so it's time for it to all go tits up still. But they've got some good results. Where are they in the table? Are you just looking at the table there?
No, I wasn't. Sorry,
I can't remember where they are. Somewhere near mid-table, or maybe even are they above us in the table or not?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They above us in the table. I think they are 5th in the table.
Right.
Yes, they are. They're only a point ahead of us, and this is an absolutely astronomical game for United. Like a win makes all the difference in the world. If everyone above us loses, we'll go 3rd if we win this game.
Yeah, that's unlikely to happen, but
little unlikely.
But
to happen,
for all the inconsistency this season, United are only 5 points off the top with a game in hand.
Yeah,
but just got to build some momentum. It's just not. I mean, 4 games won on the trot before this: Everton, West Brom, Istanbul, and then whoever we beat at the weekend, Southampton. Right, so you're thinking, build some momentum. Played well at Everton, not so well against West Brom. And a very good comeback after a messy first half at Southampton. But then lose tonight, and you just don't ever seem to be able to pick up real momentum. But, maybe that's true of most of the league at the moment. And that's why United, despite that thrashing against Spurs and despite having lost 3 times in the league, are only could end the weekend only 2 points off the top.
Yeah, so West Ham's position in the league is relatively close to where they'd be at according to Understat's expected points table. So they're not wildly outperforming expectations in that regard. Jared Bowen and Michael Antonio might be injured. He missed. Michael Antonio, is he still injured? Do you know? That's a fairly crucial one, given how important he's been to them. Have you got a way of looking that up easily, Ed?
No, I mean, if you go and check on Physio Room, they'll have the list of injuries. But yeah, no, I guess we'll know nearer the time. I mean, he certainly has the technique and movement and pace to give Maguire and Lindelof some trouble for sure. But I don't know whether he's going to be available. Hey, maybe we'll get lucky.
Yarmolenko's out from COVID.
So he came off at half time against Villa. That's right.
Right. So Yarmolenko is the only player listed on Physio Room as being unavailable for. And I guess we're going to be without Rashford, which looks I suppose means Martial left, Cavani central, Greenwood right, Fernandes behind them. I wonder if he goes back to the diamond. I mean, this is away at West Ham, technically, which should be good news for United, given that we could continue our weird record, literal all-time Manchester United best away run we've ever been on. I mean,
it'd be interesting to see if Cavani starts. I mean, he might not. I mean, with the RB Leipzig game coming up in midweek. And if Antonio's out, is it Aller? I suppose it's going to be Aller, who's got an absolute belter the other day. I mean, he's been rubbish, 40-odd million, and he's been pretty rubbish for West Ham, but banged one in the top corner. But they've had some players who've done really well. I mean, Rice maturing as a player. Souček's been excellent. Jared Bowen has, for a player who came out of the Championship, has done really well. better than our player at the Championship, I would argue. Oh, poor little Daniel James.
Poor old Dan James.
So that's the reason why they've done all right this season, because their key players are playing good football.
Yeah, weirdly, their most creative player so far this season has been Arthur Masuaku, the defender, who
left back.
Right? Left back, yeah.
Yeah, because they've gone to the back three at times, haven't they? And Cresswell's gone into the left side of the back three. The few times I've seen Masuaku, he's looked really good. He's looked to find. So. Yeah,
it's Said Benrahma, who they signed really late on from Brentford. Stats is Brentford.
Yeah.
Which is, he's a super interesting player. And, they've got lots of interesting, creative, attacking players now. And also, Moyes has got them playing very sort of functional, Moisey type football that's clearly working for them, so I guess they'll play a back three because they do seem to be playing a back three almost every game at the moment.
And there'll be fans there. There'll be 2,000 fans there.
Of course, yeah. Of course. Oh, well, that's great. There's 2,000 West Ham fans just going to be slagging West Ham off all the way through the game.
How long does it take them to start cheering the team?
They'll absolutely crumble.
I mean, Arsenal are going to get teams in the fans in the Emirates as well, because London's in tier 2. I was like, that's not going to help them. Not the run they're on.
I mean, genuinely, I know it's only 2,000 people, but imagine the motivation for those players to do well, to have people watching them, knowing that they've had people watching them all the way through this on telly and been so behind them. And, I was thinking about the reception that Cavani's going to get at Old Trafford, Bruno, these players who've really, Cavani obviously signed during all this, and Bruno's really become Bruno during all of this too. Not that he didn't have a good start, because he did, but, and he was obviously already loved by the fans, but yeah, this is this big motivation for West Ham. So, I'm worried about this one. I mean, at the moment, I'm just predicting wins after we win and predicting losses after we lose. And I should really just flip that. So after we lose, I predict a win. And after we win, I predict a loss, because we are inconsistent FC. But in this one, I don't know. You can easily see United bouncing back and being great. Sure. You can easily see them being blown apart by West Ham applying a bit of pressure. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to United, go behind and come back and win it.
All right. Why not? Yeah, I mean, it's hard to bet against United away from home at the moment. I do wonder how West Ham will set up, whether they will trying to apply pressure, or they'll be happy to sit back in the true Moyesian style. I'm gonna go with 2-0. Why not? That sounds comfortable, even though I've just spent 10 minutes explaining why it's not going to be comfortable. But anyway, whatever. 2-0
This is what all those people that have us at the top of their Spotify Wrapped charts are here for. Slagging United off for 45 minutes and then you predicting a win. That's it. That's what we do. It's just what we do.
Fan service. You've got to give the fans what they want, which is rah-rah United by the end of it. That's all they remember anyway.
If you like the show, please tell a friend about it, because the people that like us really like us, but there's not that many of them. So everyone who enjoys this show, please do tell a friend that you enjoy this show too, and get them to listen to it.
The best way to tell a friend is by doing it through the magic of Apple Podcasts, where a 5-star rating and a review does wonders.
But not as much as, I have never listened to a podcast myself, because I discovered it through discoverability on Apple Podcasts. True. It's always been personal recommendations. So the best way to tell a friend is to tell a friend. That's how it works, right? All right. Anyway, that's enough plug-in. I'm sure you've been listening to the same bumpers for about 6 months, because we haven't recorded any new ones for ages. We should do that. Not tonight though. It's late. Thanks everyone, and massive thanks to producer Tom. Another shout out to everyone that's been kind enough to shout us out this week. My number one listenings are All My Sleep playlist. So very boring every year, my Spotify Wrapped.
Is that because it just plays through the night?
No, I just listen to it every day before I go to bed.
Right.
So.
I don't listen to Spotify, so
Oh, you an Apple Music guy?
Well,
you were Jay-Z's one
I was
subscriber,
Jay-Z's
right,
best mate,
before.
and then I dumped him because Amazon Music launched a high definition service for half the price. I was just like, screw you, Jay.
Yeah, so it's Bezos all day, every day.
Yeah, he doesn't need the money, does he?
No, from Jay-Z to Jeff B. All right, that'll do. We will see you with another one of these after the glorious victory against West Ham United. In the meantime, take good care of yourselves, and massive thanks for listening.
Have a good one.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.